came to Canada during the Great Recession, that is, in 2007 to 2009. There were limited job opportunities, there were economic instability. How you managed to overcome them?
I remember once I was traveling to Toronto and I saw in one of the shop that job vacancy is there. When I see that vacancy, I was so excited. Oh, there is a job.
And you had been the part of two remarkable events like Nepal's 2015 earthquake relief and the Nepalese flag raising at Sudbury's Breeze of Nations in 2016.
We were able to gather around $7,900.
Why assessment is so important in medical education? Since 2009 to 2024, have you ever thought of that kind of Nepalese association or Nepalese society that look after or that take care of Nepalese community? Were there any Nepalese association back then in Canada? Namaste, bonjour, good evening, and welcome everyone. Today I am very much honored to have Mr. Shreedhar Acharya, an inspiring professional with over 20 years of expertise in health sciences, statistics, and education. Arriving in Canada in 2009 during the Great Recession, Mr. Acharya faced numerous challenges, but persevered, starting as a graduate assistant at University of Windsor before moving to Sudbury. In Sudbury, he held key roles at Cambrian College and now contributes as a Student Assessment Data Analyst at NOSM University while pursuing a PhD at Laurentian University. His academic background is exceptional, with 3 master's degree and a passion for community service. Mr. Acharya has also been instrumental in initiatives like Nepal's 2015 earthquake relief and the Nepalese flag raising at Sudbury's Breeze of Nations in 2016. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Shreedhar Acharya to the show. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Arjun. I'm very much happy for your invitation to talk with you about my career and different challenges I faced. I'm happy to talk to you about my journey.
First of all, thank you so much for accepting our invitation from your busy schedule. Since you were from Nepal, thank you so much. Dhere dhere dhanyavad and swagat cha, welcome.
Thank you.
All right, let's begin. What inspired you to move from Nepal to Canada? And before Canada, you've been to Australia for your master's degree. And how has your journey unfolded since arriving in 2009?
Well, I was a faculty in Nepal. I was teaching biostatistics and demography in one of the medical school. It's the Universal College of Medical Sciences in Bhairava. So I was interested to have another international degree. So for that, I got an enrollment in a University of New South Wales, Australia, for masters in public health. So that was exciting, and after completion of the study, I got another opportunity to pursue another master's. It's called Masters in Health Management. And then later on, I faced a bit of challenge to get a residency status in Australia. So what happened in my life that if one door is closed and there is a chance of another door open, so I knocked the door of Canada. So as soon as I completed my study, I got an opportunity to stay or got a residency status in Canada. So I moved to Canada, and in Canada I landed to Windsor, which is a southernmost city of Canada, and one of my friend was there. So I moved to there, and after landing there, then only I realized that, it's a great recession, which was already started in 27. And I was in the mid of the great recession. So I faced lots of challenge in Windsor because lots of people were laid off at the time, and it was a big challenge. So we struggled a lot, and later on I got a part-time position in the University of Windsor where I was teaching statistics to the undergraduate students. It's called the tutorial classes I was taking. And later on, my wife got an admission in a Cambrian College. So we moved to Sudbury, and then later on, I got a position in a Cambrian College to teach statistics in several courses. And later on, I also got a job opportunity to work in a Statistics Canada as an interviewer, data collection interviewer. So that was a journey, and then later on I got several positions in a Cambrian College. It's called Program Support Officer, Data Analyst in the Research and Planning Department. And that was a contract, and contract is over. Later on, I got an opportunity to work at NOSM. Previously, it was a NOSM, Northern Ontario School of Medicine, and these days it's a NOSM University. So this is my journey. I started from Windsor to Sudbury, and it's exciting, and I'm really happy. My wife also completed her degree from the Cambrian College. She is working, and my son also, he also did a bachelor's in engineering from Laurentian University and master's in engineering in Laurentian University. So he's also working in Sudbury. So we are almost settled in Sudbury. So that's the journey.
And it's an exceptional journey. Your family is full of, complete academic package. Everyone is academically sound and everything is settled. I'm sure you have faced more or less same kind of challenges as an immigrant faces. Could you describe some of the challenges you encountered when you first came to Canada during the Great Recession, that is, in 2007 to 2009, where there were limited job opportunities, there were economic instability? How you managed to overcome them?
It was the same challenges I faced compared to other immigrants. When they landed in a new country, there are lots of challenges, but in spite of that, our landing was different. Timing was very much challenging for us. So even we were trying to get a job like a customer support or salesman in the Windsor. It was a job were not available. I remember once I was traveling to Toronto, and I saw in one of the shop that job vacancy is there. When I see that vacancy, I was so excited. Oh, there is a job, because I never saw any positions in the University of in the Windsor. That was a very much a challenging period. My wife also tried here and there. And we were renting an apartment. We have to pay the rent. We have to manage groceries. Lots of things we have to manage. But resilience and adaptation is one of the key things, and that is supportive to us. And we were in touch with the lots of people, Nepalese people and other immigrant people in Windsor. And somehow I get an opportunity to work in the University of Windsor. So that is the starting point, and that helped a lot because the Canadian experience is very much important. So for the newcomer, it is a big challenge because we come from the different country, and here we have to face challenges. And one of the challenges is a Canadian experience. That is a key. And we managed, and weather was also difficult. Weather was not in my expectation, because I was thinking that there would be snow in the hills like that happens in Nepal.
True.
But when we landed, snow were everywhere, about 2-3 feet of snow. That was also big challenge. So adaptation in the weather and adaptation with the Canadian experience, that was the key part. But we managed, and I feel lucky that somehow we were able to manage. But we struggled about 6 to 8 months. So that was a big time frame. But it is exciting when I remember back. Then I feel that, oh, we managed those things.
So, how was your first experience while coming in Sudbury, and how was the situations here in Sudbury? Then,
First of all, my wife got admission. We were in Windsor, and she came first. That was in September. Now I remember, and September it was nice. But when we came, me and my son were living in Windsor, and we came to visit her somewhere in October. Then I got a call from Statistics Canada, Sturgeon Falls, which is between Sudbury and North Bay. So it is 100 kilometers from here. So it was a new experience when we drove from Windsor. And after crossing the Perry Sound, I feel like, oh, this is the different world, because lots of snow were there, and I was driving in the snow at that time, first time in the snow. That was a quite exciting feeling I had. But later on, I got a call from the Statistics Canada. I went to there for an interview, and I was selected. But the federal government, they have a procedure, they have lots of security check, reference check, lots of things there. But they called me to work somewhere in April. I was interviewed in October, and they called me in the month of April. And when my wife finished her first semester, I came to take her, to bring her to the Windsor, because me and my son, we were there in the Windsor. At that time, I got another call from Cambrian College.
wow.
for a teaching position. I interviewed, and when I reached to the Windsor, they called me. I'm selected for that position. So that was exciting, and I was so happy that they trust me, because I was working in a University of Windsor. Mm-hmm. So that foundation was helping to me, and I started teaching at Cambrian College. But later on, when I was starting teaching, I came to know that program is going to phase out after one semester. It's called Health Information Management Program. For that semester, only I was recruited. I was teaching. Then later on, I managed some other courses, teaching statistics to the engineering program, and statistics and research methodology to the health dental hygiene program. So I taught there, and later on I got a contract of other positions, like, as I mentioned, the program support officer and data analyst. And my wife also finished, and Ayugma, my son, he also started schooling. And the good thing, another important thing happened in my life, that the schooling in Sudbury there are 4 important schools are there. The 4 good rating schools we found, and I was able to enroll my son in one of the best school in Sudbury, which is comparable. If we compare that school in the Toronto, they have a good rating. So that way, I'm lucky that we were able to enroll in a good school. So my wife also finished his study. So we have a very exciting experience in Sudbury, though the weather is not comparable to the Southern Ontario, like Toronto, Windsor. When we talk to them, and they say, why you are in the Northern Ontario, why you are in the snow. But me and my family, we are used to with Sudbury, and we like to skating in a Ramsey Lake, and in the summer we enjoy participating in the dragon boat festivals and other water activities, hiking, and camping, lots of activities we are doing in Sudbury. So I feel like I'm in a good place.
All right. Okay, since moving to Canada, you have held diverse roles ranging from, as you said, academic positions to working right now as a data analyst at NOSM University. How has your career progressed over the years? What's your experience?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, that there were several challenges we faced in Canada, but I was able to manage a position in NOSM University. It's called Student Assessment Data Analyst. So my career, I have a diverse experience, like a program support officer in Cambrian College, data analyst in the Cambrian College, and a data collection interviewer in Statistics Canada. That was another experience. So that way I was able to get a Canadian experience, and I also developed communication skills from that data collection interviewer position. I was calling to the people and finished the survey. The survey allotted to me was called Canadian CCHS. It is called. It is a health survey, and I was getting lots of information from the people about the health and health concerns. And that way I was able to learn how the people are having difficulties in accessing healthcare services. So that way I was able to learn the healthcare services and some difficulties the Canadian are facing. And that way when I am in a position in a NOSM University, I do lots of analysis, data analysis related to the exam data to check the trend of exam result and to compare the exam grades to the different campus. NOSM University has a Sudbury campus and Thunder Bay campus. So the students are in the two campuses, and every exam questions were analyzed, and we see how the question is performed over the class, and we see how the exam performed. I mean, we calculate the reliability score of the exam, and then the outcome of the exam is meeting the expectation of the curriculum or not. That is my main job. And another is I prepare report for promotion and graduation, and subsequently we are involved in the research data analysis as well. We have a team, and we published several papers in the international journal and domestic journals in Canada. So that way my professional life has been advancing, and I feel like to continue my PhD study in rural and northern health. So I enrolled to Laurentian University for the PhD, and now I'm a PhD candidate, and I'm doing opiate agonist treatment therapy, in which I'm particularly selecting adherence of the opioid use disorder patients. Mm-hmm. So I will be happy to discuss about that as well if you ask related to that question.
Of course.
Yeah. So what happened, since you asked about the professional progress, so I would like to mention that as well. So what I'm doing in a PhD is that my research topic is to find out the associated factors of OAT adherence. OAT means opioid agonist treatment. Okay. So OAT means opioid agonist treatment. That treatment therapy is used for the opioid use disorder patients. So the physicians, what they do when they diagnose by using a DSM criteria, diagnostic statistical manual for mental disorder. That is a criteria utilized by the physicians, and if they decide the patient is required OAT, that means opioid agonist treatment. So that is a therapeutic treatment method, and it is a standard process, and it is very much successful process. So in that one, in the past, treatment retention is measured. So the treatment retention means how many days patient remains in the treatment. Now, what I'm going to do that I'm planning to measure the adherence. That means in a certain duration, how many days the patient are in a treatment. That means how many days the prescription is prescribed by the physician. So that I'm going to measure, and it is called adherence, and proportion days covered is the measurement I apply, and I will be providing to the physician's healthcare planner or policymaker to understand what way the adherence can be increased in Ontario, and I will be comparing adherence to Southern Ontario versus the Northern Ontario, and what could be the associated factors for the adherence, and what further more attention to be taken by the policymakers in order to improve the adherence. That means if the adherence is increased, then there is a healthcare cost also can be shaved, and there would be less mortality in opioid related deaths as well. So the adherence, more adherence to the OAT is very much essential. So I'm providing support to the healthcare planner from my studies. So this way my journey is continuing, and I'm happy that I'm involved in the research in a northern and rural health program at NOSM University.
Wow, that's amazing. As we know, life is never-ending education. You are continuing your studies and your research in rural and northern health. I'm sure it's going to be amazing experience for you and for entire health sector here in Canada. It's going to definitely contribute to the health sector as well. Let's come to the Sudbury. Sudbury, Ontario has played a significant role in your personal as well as your professional life. How has your experience living in northern communities shaped your perspective on rural health?
My background is statistics, demography back home. I was teaching statistics and demography, and I was involved in a community medicine department in a medical school. And in that program, there is a called Community Diagnosis and Microhealth Project in the medical school. So I was a coordinator of that program, and I used to take medical students to the rural area of Nepal, and from that program I was able to understand where is the gap between the rural part of Nepal and urban part of Nepal. What is the disparity or health equity, or how the people of rural area are getting access to the healthcare, and the human health resources is lacking. So that was the challenges I noticed. And when I was studying in Australia, there is a healthcare equity disbalance I noticed between the Indigenous Australian and non-Indigenous Australian. There is also some gap I noticed. And coming to Canada here in Northern Ontario, I also noticed that there is a healthcare gap in the Northern Ontario and to the Southern Ontario. And in the Northern Ontario, the urban areas like Sudbury and rural and remote areas where lots of Indigenous people are there is a wide gap of healthcare access because of the healthcare service and the health human resource is lacking in the rural and remote areas. So I decided to involve, as I mentioned earlier about the research topic I have chosen, and in that also what I saw back home in Nepal, lots of people were suffering from opiate addictions. We used to use the term addictions back home, and they were facing challenges. And here also I saw lots of people are suffering by the opioid use disorder, and I feel like to contribute to some in that area. That's why I choose northern and rural health. And being in Sudbury for more than 12 years, I was engaged in the community programs of the Sudbury. Like I involved in a dragon boat festivals, and representing NOSM for the festival, and I engaged mainly in the northern Ontario. So I feel like to involve in the northern Ontario. So I'm hoping that my research would be able to contribute to the disparity between the southern Ontario and northern Ontario, especially in the OUT sector. So that might be helpful, and I hope my study would be helpful for to overcome the challenges faced by the OUD patients in northern Ontario.
Of course, no doubt. Now, at NOSM University, you serve as a Student Assessment Data Analyst. Could you explain what your role involves and why assessment is so important in medical education?
Yeah, to some extent, I already mentioned earlier that I do the assessment data when a student finishes the exam. Then examination has to be analyzed properly, whether the questions performed well or not. There are some statistical tools we have to calculate, and we compare from the outcome of the study. We will see which questions performed well and which questions does not perform well. And I do the trend analysis in the last 5 years, what the outcome. And we do advanced level statistical tool. We utilize advanced level statistical tool to analyze the data, and then after the analysis, then only the result will be released to the student. And if the outcome of the exam is well and it meet expectation of the curriculum, then the exam did well. So that way we maintain the standard of the education and the integrity of the exam. And moreover, there is another things involved, that the compliances of the accreditation bodies are there. So that also we have to check, and mainly to maintain the quality of the students. I mean, the future graduate in a medical school, we have to maintain the quality of exam. So for that, I'm involved, and that's so that's exciting for me. And I always feel like when I prepare a promotion report and graduation report, which I will find out what are the requirement meet by the student or not. That way the faculty will take a decision. So that way we maintain the quality of education, medical education at the school.
Seeing your background, you've been to 3 different countries so far, Nepal, Australia, and Canada. How has this global experience shaped your perspective on healthcare, particularly for rural and underserved communities?
Yeah, this is a good question, but the challenge here in northern Ontario, that lots of people are away from the city. People are living with quite a distance from the from the city, especially indigenous people. They are living in the remote area of northern Ontario. So they have their own challenges because healthcare access is not enough. They have to travel lots of distance to get access to the healthcare. So that's a big challenge I noticed. And my role is from my study, I'm hoping that I would be able to contribute to some in the opioid agonist patients. But mainly, my contribution is that as a student assessment assessment data analyst, I would be helping to produce physicians who contribute to the rural health of the northern Ontario, because NOSM graduates, many NOSM graduates are practicing in the northern Ontario.
Nice.
So that data is showing that more NOSM graduates are practicing at NOSM, which is a good sign. So indirectly, I'm also part of that. So I'm contributing in that context.
You have mentioned your experiences in Windsor during the economic challenges of the Great Recession, as well as starting fresh in Canada. What lessons have you learned that might be helpful or valuable for new immigrants? What do you want to say?
For new immigrant, I also face the same challenges, but the important thing is how to connect with the people. That is the important thing, and connecting with the other people, and whatever the position you get, you have to jump in that position. So you don't at first you don't think that this position is not good for me. I will try to find other position like that. Wait, please do not wait. And as soon as you jump in a position, you will have a Canadian experience, and you will have people who can say about you. So in a way, you will get a reference for the future. So in my career also, there is a layer of Canadian experience is piled up. So that is helpful for getting a reference and Canadian experience. So that was helpful. And the other thing is adaptability. For example, you may not be getting a job immediately when you land in a new place. So it might take us some time. So resilience, adaptability, and management. That's very much important. How do you manage? So when I came in 2009, that time was a great recession time, and it was a difficult time for us, and we didn't have lots of social media at the time.
Right.
Even it's a very limited venues are there to see the job openings. So it was a big challenges. But these days, due to the invention of the new social media, it is a benefit for the newcomers. And moreover, especially when we talk about Sudbury, we have a large number of Nepalese communities in Sudbury. So word of mouth works a lot. So connecting each other and involving in the community activities, and involving in the community, that helps a lot. So that way, we can build some experience and the reference as well. So yeah, it's a exciting journey I had. But at the end, if you are able to get a job in which you are educated, or you have a degree, that would be best. And for that, you have to have some resilience and adaptability, and so many things to consider at first.
In addition to that, how can international students transition from a survival job, or let's say part-time jobs, to roles which is aligned with their academic qualification in Canada at the end of the graduations or after they passed out? What do you want to say about that?
I think there are some tips like networking. Networking is one of the important things. For example, if you are graduating with the degree of accounting, I'm just giving one example. So you wanted to work in the accounting. Mm-hmm. So you have to make some network in the accounting. For example, how these days, the good thing is that LinkedIn profile, you have to create a LinkedIn profile where people are working in that area. You have to find and you try to reach out to make some friends, and you can communicate what type of position you are looking for. And the frustration is that we have to, especially in the beginning time, we have to apply large number of applications, and then people call you for an interview. You will not be selected in the several interview, and there is a frustration.
True.
Once upon a time, what happened in my life, I was sending a resume lots of times, and I was tired. I stopped sending. I stopped for 2 or 3 weeks.
Here in Canada?
Here in Canada.
Okay.
Then later on, I realized, if I don't apply, how do I get a job? And again, I started applying and applying.
Even you were already internationally graduate.
Yes.
From Australia. You already had international experience from Australia.
Yes.
International degree.
The thing is that when I came in Canada, when I was in Windsor, I was interviewed from Alberta, British Columbia. They interviewed me because they see my resume. Oh, this guy is competent enough. But later on, I came to know that I don't have a Canadian experience.
True.
Because Canadian experience is very much important here. When I moved from Australia, what I realized that, I have Australian experience. I might be getting a job quickly here. That didn't happen because I had to restart here in Canada. That's why I took a part-time position here and there. I built up my resume, and then only interview comes. And then with several interviews, you will come to know, what were lacking in the past interview that you were not able to select. So what happens in the beginning that you feel like, it's just for an interview. They are calling for a quota only to ask. Let's say, for example, the hiring manager wants 3 people for an interview. They will call 3 people, but they will select only 1 person.
Absolutely.
So they will select the very competent person. So what I learned that every interview, I learned that how to present better way in the next interview, so that at the end somebody will take you, somebody will offer you the position. So that way we have to have several interviews, and you have to be careful that even if you don't get an interview, don't worry about it, just apply and apply. But these days there is lots of tool available. In my time, in 2009, there were not many tools available. So these days we have lots of tools, and we can modify resume and do interview questions. Also, you can ask to the social media or in the internet. You can find the answers as well. What would be the answer?
Yeah.
And then you have to choose that answer is aligned to you or not. Then you have to make answers by yourself. So that way, you have to strengthen your capability, and then only you would be success in this area.
Many immigrant families in Ontario have aspirations for their children to become medical doctors. Based on your experience at medical school, what guidance would you give to help them prepare their children for medical school admissions?
In this one, since I'm not in a admission department, so my information is based on the information available in the website of NOSM University.
Okay.
So, at the first time, the requirement is somebody is a Canadian resident or Canadian citizen. That is the first criteria. But there is a news that Ontario Premier, he was talking about that non-Ontarians can't be able to apply in a schools in Ontario. That is a news. I don't know. That might change soon. So anyway, Canadian citizens and permanent residents is a first requirement, and there are, and for to get an enrollment in a medical school, the applicant should have a undergrad 4 years undergrad degree. If they are mature students above 65 and older at the time of application, they are those who has 3 years undergrad degree are also able to apply for the school. And the selection criteria, there are two ways: pre-interview criteria and the interview criteria. There are two important part for the selection of the students. So at NOSM, MCAT score is not required. There are about 7 schools in Ontario. So NOSM is one of the schools who do not require MCAT score.
Does NOSM University accept non-science background students
Yes,
as well?
yes,
Wow.
they accept non-science
Nice.
background students as well.
Mm-hmm.
So there are different streams: rural stream, rural and remote stream, and indigenous stream, black stream. So in the pre-interview, which carries 32% of the total score, in that one GPA, in order to apply at NOSM, applicant should have a GPA greater than 3 out of 4 GPA. And context score is also there. So the context score is based on the involvement in the community, whether they are in a volunteer, they are working in the Northern Ontario. That's the important thing. The other important thing is how are the candidate in a Northern Ontario before the grade 12. So there is a score. So based on that, the pre-interview score is set, and there were about 1,600 applications we receive at the school each year. And among them, from the pre-interview score, which is 30% of the total score, we select about 320 students, for the another session, for the interview session. So there are two types of interview: MMI interview and the panel interview. So what happens in the interview, there are panel of the faculty, community people, senior students, and other people are there. So after the interview carries about 68% of the total. So everything is added. 32% of the total score pre-interview GPA and context score, and 62% from the interview, and then it will be add up, and then students are called. 89 of the students applicants will be offered for the NOSM University. So it depends on the merit.
Sounds really tough. So as per your experience, how competitive is medical school admission in Ontario? What do you want to say?
It is a competitive. Every university get more than 2,000 applications, and admission is a very much competitive. So what I would like to mention to the parents of immigrant that if they are really interested in medical education, they have to be focused from the grade 9 itself. So students are preparing from grade 9. They are involving in the community services, volunteer services, and lots of areas they can involve. And that is a piled up, like their experience is piled up and recommendation is piled up. So everything is added up, plus the GPA. GPA is also required. So that way it's a competitive, and if they are really interested, they can apply. Yeah.
You arrived in Canada in 2009. It's been almost 12, 30 years all the way from Nepal. And you had been the part of two remarkable events, like Nepal's 2015 earthquake relief and the Nepalese flag raising at Sudbury's Breeze of Nations in 2016. So since 2009, and we are almost at the end of 2024, how did you remember these events, and how did you remember those days representing Nepal and Nepalese community back in 2009?
Few families at that time, at least 8 or 9 families living in a Sudbury, and mostly students at Laurentian University, and we worked together, and we were able to accomplish or able to gather around $7,900, and that was collected from door-to-door campaign, and some program organized in the different schools like Algonquin School, St. Ben's School, and donations received from Nepal Handicraft in a Rainbow Mall. So that way we were able to collect. But we decided, we all community members decided to donate that money to the Red Cross Canada, because Red Cross Canada were supporting in earthquake at the time of earthquake in the rescue program, and there at the time there was a $2 match program as well. So with the expectation of the community member, Nepalese community, and the donors, we decided to donate to the Canadian Red Cross. So that's earthquake, and it was exciting. We were able to manage that much amount. Even we were not many Nepalese people were there. So the community's support were excellent. People were coming up and they were donating for that cause. And the another opportunity we got from the city of Greater Sudbury, they were expanding some spots for the flag in the Breeze of the Nations. So there were about 5-6 spots were available, and we got an opportunity to put a Nepalese flag over there, and we were a very small number of people at that time, and we managed to get a support from Nepalese Embassy, Ottawa. So the ambassador from Nepalese ambassador to Canada also arrived at the flag raising ceremony. So it was excellent, and we were able to manage that as well. So these two events are the important events, and we small number of community members were able to manage those incidents. I mean that we worked for the good cause, and now we can see the flag every time we drive from the Bridge of the Nations. We can see triangular flag, and people were asking about that flag because it's a unique flag and it has a meaning on it. They were asking to me what is the meaning. I were able to explain to them that's the meaning of that flag. So it was an exciting event.
Absolutely. And I have a question. I was wondering how many families were there from Nepal at that time in 2009 when you first arrived in Canada, especially in Sudbury, let's say in Sudbury.
Yeah, in Sudbury, when we arrived, there were about 5 families. I can count 5 families were there, and it was difficult to reach out to the family. When my wife got admission to the Cambrian College, we were looking for some Nepalese people. At the time, there were no such a social media to find how many Nepalese are there. So luckily, I reached out to somebody in Toronto, and they gave one Nepalese guy's name, and we contacted to them, and that way we were able to manage. So there were very few number of families at the time. When I compare to these days, we have so many community members.
Absolutely.
In Sudbury, which is exciting. I'm so exciting that we have a good number of people, and this helps us to support each other, and especially for the new immigrant, we can support in case if there is any need.
Absolutely. And I have a question in my mind. I really wanted to ask this question to you. Recently, the Nepalese Society of Sudbury is officially established, or let's say formed, here in Canada. So, what's your thought? Like, since 2009 to 2024, have you ever thought of that kind of Nepalese association or Nepalese society that look after or that take care of Nepalese community? Have you ever thought of that, or were there any Nepalese association back then in Canada?
Not really in Sudbury. We made a group in a Facebook at the time. I remember it was in 2011 or 2012. There were a Facebook group, and we used to arrange. We used to celebrate Tees, Dasai with the help of that group, and we also arranged camping because the number of families were very small. 5-6 families were there, and we used to go for a camping every year. And it is not registered anywhere. So I'm very much happy that NSS is registered in Sudbury, and which is exciting, and lots of people are aligned in that organization, and we can participate. We can arrange lots of activities in the community. So that's a very positive sign, and I'm very much happy that you young guys are involved in that organization, and we must support this organization to establish more in the community level, and it would be supportive to all members of the Nepalese community. Hopefully in future they will do it. And I heard some of the activities in the Facebook that you guys were doing some of the activities and involving, for example, there is a flag raise ceremony in the Republican Day of Nepal in the city of Greater Sudbury. So that is good that we are able to say to the community that we have our organization and we are involved in the organization. That is a very much supportive to the community members.
All right. In 2009, have you ever felt the presence of NRNA Canada, since NRNA Canada was formed in March 2007? Have you ever felt the presence of NRNA Canada in 2009 or in your initial years? Or have you ever tried to connect with NRNA Canada, their members? Have they ever solved any kind of issues or problems regarding Nepalese community? What's your experience?
At first I was also excited to be part of NRNA Canada. I took a membership for several years when I came to Sudbury, but I don't have to say more about NRNA Canada because they didn't reach out to us, and we felt like we are in the Northern Ontario, and we felt like isolated from the greater Toronto area because they have lots of people and they have lots of voters, and we are only few family members are in Sudbury. So that way we not only me, other members also realized the same way, and they were not interested to involve actively to the NRNA. Maybe in future, this is the only one organization. NRNA is a huge organization in Canada, but we have to be a part of that organization. But it depends on the personality to personality because I'm not a leader. I'm not a leadership quality I feel I have, but I know there are some people they are interested in Sudbury to involve in a NRNA. That's a good sign that they also these days we have lots of Nepalese people, so they might be thinking that there is a good number of votes in Sudbury as well. So they might be paying some attention to the Sudbury community as well. So I would like to mention one important thing what I felt about NRNA. There were one conference. I think they do conference every 2 years or 1 year. I don't know, but there was a conference in Thunder Bay. They organized a conference in Thunder Bay, and I heard a comment from the Greater Toronto area that why they organize a conference in a Thunder Bay. Then I realized, why people are ignoring to the small communities. Sudbury and Thunder Bay are almost the similar communities, but it is away from Thunder Bay. So that comment was hurting to me because if we are living in a small community, there is a ignorance from the people of larger communities. So that sort of discriminating behavior should be adjusted in the higher level of NRNA. So that's my feeling. I told otherwise.
What suggestion do you want to give to the NRNA Canada right now?
There are lots of news going on about the NRNA. Some of the news I don't want to share here. I don't want to mention, but this is the organization of Nepalese. So we have to involve in small communities, and we have to. I mean, the executives of the NRNA should feel like that every members should not be ignored. Every community members, they have to cover all the members of the community. That's my suggestion. And there is some political influence in the NRNA, which is impacting a lot. So if we were able to ignore that part, the influence by the political parties would be ignored, so that let the community run independently. That is my wish. Hopefully, going future, this will happen.
Thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful insights.
Thank you very much for inviting to this program, Beyond the Border program, and I'm happy that my experience I can share with you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome.